Hey guys, today I am going to do a VR for Stukes Baseball Cards and Curiosities. I'm fairly new to Stukes, but he's been around for a while, and I see him a lot in the chats and stuff. And he's doing a VR, and I thought, hey, this would be kind of fun to check out. What he's doing is he's asking everybody to tell him about, or I guess just share it really, about your hometown heroes and use cards and stuff to, as your props. I I only knew about a couple of guys who were athletes, at least from my hometown or my school. I grew up in a town, and so did my wife. At least I did my whole life, and she did. She moved in a little later. But it's a town called Plano, Plano, which is an Indian term for flat. And if you've been to this part of Texas, you'd understand because it is very flat. You can see forever. Um, which, I don't know. I mean, you don't have to deal with the mountains and curling around stuff, but it's I don't know, it's kind of boring as far as the landscape, at least in this part of Texas. Texas is huge, if you guys don't know. So you can pretty much get every type of landscape. There is hill country. They're all little mountains. There is even a volcano if you go far enough. There's deserts. There's little piney woods, and there's a bunch of different kinds of people. There's a bunch of different kinds of personalities and accents and food. And honestly, there's a lot of different kind of cultures in different parts of Texas, and I love it. So I talk about Texas a lot because it's my hometown, and I think most people. It's not my hometown; it's my home state. I think most people are cheerleaders for their state, but I would say that Texans are probably obnoxiously so. Texans love them some Texas. Anyway, so I'm going to get off that. But I will, when we're talking about hometown, it's hard not to talk about it. But so I grew up in a town called Plano. My wife moved there when she was a kid, but she didn't. She like went through, I think, middle school and stuff there. Um, but Plano is an offshoot of Dallas. And if you've been to Dallas, you'll often hear it referred to as DFW because that's the name of the airport. Which, interesting fact, the airport is bigger than the island of Manhattan. It's a good sized airport. And it sits between Dallas and Fort Worth. Dallas, especially now, reminds me a lot of Los Angeles, where it is just really, it's Dallas, it's Fort Worth. There's a ton of um, little suburbs around it, and it all blends together. It is all one massive city. So it's often over here referred to as a metroplex, which you don't hear that term used a lot, but it's used to describe the whole, like as a whole, like the Dallas metroplex is Dallas and all the surrounding suburbs. You say Fort Worth in the metro in that metroplex area, but it's just huge. There's a ton of people here. There's a ton of traffic. There's highways that you go everywhere on a highway. And I don't know. The people I know that have moved here from out of state love pretty much everything but the weather. It gets hot, it gets dry, and it gets hot. And so you get used to it to a degree. I don't think you ever get used to 110, 120. But yeah, anyway, so I need to get back to my actual VR and not loving and also complaining about my hometown. Plano, it has about 300,000 people today. It was a little bit smaller when I graduated. My wife graduated before I did, and it was certainly smaller back then. Back then, they had two senior highs. Our schools go K through 5, and then you go to middle school, and it's 6, 7, 8. And then you go to junior high, 9 and 10, and then senior high, 11 and 12. So when my wife and I were still going through the school system, there were two senior highs, and they were rivals. And then after I graduated, a few years after that, Plano just got too big, and so they added a third senior high. Yeah, so there's a lot of kids here, is what I'm trying to say. It's a small town, but there's a lot of people here. So when trying to figure out who the, I guess, most famous athletes from my hometown were, there were quite a few to choose from, but I thought it would be more fun just to choose the ones that went to my high school. And there are some that you're going to know, and there's some that you may not know. So instead of pulling out like one or two cards, I thought I would just kind of go through a visual so you can just see what's going on. And also I don't have cards for all these people, so I thought this is the best way to stay consistent. But I'm already like 6 minutes into this video and I haven't shown you anything, so I need to get on it. So first off, I'm going to go with Muhammad Lawal. Muhammad is an MMA fighter. He fought in Bellator. He was the light heavyweight champion at one time. And Muhammad, I graduated with. We played football together. We wrestled together. And I will tell you that as a human, at least through high school, he was a really nice kid. He was very moral. He didn't get into trouble. He worked really hard. He was really kind to everybody. He was funny. I will tell you, he had freaky long arms. He was really strong for his size. He ended up going to OSU and wrestling, which if you are into wrestling, you will know that Oklahoma is a big wrestling state. So it was a big deal for him to go to OSU. They don't mess around. Yeah, every day after football practice, we would go, and then we had wrestling practice, and he outweighed me at that point. But coach always made me wrestle with him, and he would be like, "Hey, I'm going to try something new on you today. Okay?" And I'd be like, "Oh, all right." And then, 1, 2, 3, I'm on my back. So, that's just kind of how it was. I feel like more like I was his wrestling dummy than anything else. But, Muhammad, he was good people. Next up, I'm going to go with probably the most famous athlete that went to my high school. Didn't graduate there, left in his senior year and graduated, I think, down in Houston somewhere. So most famous, but also probably the most controversial, which is Lance Armstrong. Lance, I don't feel like I really need to talk about Lance a whole lot. You know about the doping, and you know about all the controversial stuff. But you probably already know about all the Tour de France's and everything like that. So I'm not gonna make this go long to talk about all the things that he accomplished, because he accomplished a lot. Yeah, that's it. I don't want to get into it. Number 3 is Jake Arrieta. So Jake was a pitcher and pitched for a while. I think with the Phillies, I think he hopped around a little bit. I gave myself a cheat sheet, but I don't know what I did with it. Baltimore, Cubs, Phillies, Cubs again, and Padres. Was the All-Star in 2016. Also got himself a World Series ring in 2016, and won the NL Cy Young in 15, and got a Silver Slugger in 16. So it's pretty good. So he went to my high school. He graduated after me. So Lance was before me. I graduated with Muhammad. Like I said, we played sports together. Next up, I have Jimmy King. Jimmy King is interesting because Jimmy King did the same path I went through. I remember I told you how everything is broken down, but he went to the same elementary school and stuff that I did. I remember when I was a kid, he actually came and talked at our elementary school. He's probably 10 years older than I am. But he came back and he talked to our elementary school. And if I looked for it, I probably still have my elementary school signature book with just the blank pages, and I have his autograph in there because I got it when I was in 4th grade or whatever. I don't have any real recollection of what he was talking to us about. It was with you when he was still in Michigan with the Fab Five. But yeah, that was fun. Stacey King had a pretty decent career. I don't know where my notes are, but if I remember right, he was Fab Five. That didn't end the way I wanted it to. I was pulling for him, but played with the Bulls. I think he bounced around a little bit. I'm actually not even sure what he's doing today. But Jimmy King, basketball. So I have MMA, cycling, baseball, basketball, and I'm going to finish with Charlie Pepra, NFL. Charlie played for the Giants, the Packers, the Falcons, the Packers again, and played a little bit with the Cowboys. Won a Super Bowl ring with the Packers, if I remember right, and went to school in Alabama. He was pretty good. He was a few years younger than me, but even then, everybody knew he was going to be a pretty good player. We've had from my high school several guys go on to play in the NFL. But I don't know. I just thought I'd pick out Charlie. I think he was the only one with a Super Bowl ring, so I thought that would be fun to add. Anyway, so those are my 5. I hope I wasn't too boring. But yeah, that was fun. All right, so that's my top 5. I guess for my high school, and I didn't do my wife's because they're rivals, and I didn't want to do her high school. So today, my high school is the only one that matters. Talk to y'all later. Bye.